Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs roundtable with Indian AI startups in New Delhi, emphasizes startups and AI entrepreneurs are co-architects of India's future. US Senate to vote on a resolution that would block Trump from taking further military action against Venezuela. Trump says US oversight of Venezuela could last years. An Iranian Foreign Minister Prasar Bharati says Tehran remains ready for negotiations with US based on mutual respect. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a roundtable meeting with Indian artificial intelligence startups at his residence in New Delhi. The meeting was held ahead of the India AI Impact Summit 2026, scheduled to be held next month. The meeting was attended by senior executives from leading AI firms, along with Union Minister of Electronics and Information Technology Ashwini Vaishnav and Minister of State for IT Jitin Prasad. 12 Indian startups shortlisted for the AI for All Global Impact Challenge presented their innovations in the meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. During the interaction, Prime Minister underscored the transformative role of artificial intelligence in society and stressed the need for ethical, transparent and inclusive AI development. He said Indian startups are co-architects of the country's future and urged them to build AI solutions that are made in India, made for the world, while promoting affordability, data privacy, regional languages and indigenous content. Shifting focus to international updates, the US Senate is due to consider a resolution on Thursday that would block President Donald Trump from taking further military action against Venezuela without congressional authorization, and backers said the measure could pass in a close vote. Days after US forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in a dramatic military raid in Caracas, Senators will vote on the latest in a series of war powers measures introduced since the administration ramped up military pressure on the country with attacks on boats off its coast in September. Republicans have blocked all of the measures, but the last vote was just 49-51 as two senators from Trump's party joined Democrats in backing a resolution in November. Administration officials had told lawmakers at that time that they did not plan regime change or strikes on Venezuelan territory. US President Donald Trump has said that the United States would oversee Venezuela and control its oil revenue for years. Trump also said that Venezuela would now purchase only American-made products with the money they receive from the new oil deal. Trump will meet American oil executives on Friday to discuss plans for Venezuela's oil sector days after a raid that toppled the country's leader. Here's a report.
The United States on Wednesday laid out an energy deal with Venezuela, saying it will partially roll back sanctions to allow the sale of oil products from the country. The details were shared in a Department of Energy fact sheet. White House said that energy deal will benefit both the American people and the Venezuelans.
This was a deal made by the president and his team with the Venezuelan interim authorities. This will benefit both the American people and the Venezuelan people. And Secretary Wright and the Department of Energy are working with the interim authorities and also with the private oil industry to execute on this historic energy deal. That's not only good for the United States, but it's also going to revive the prosperity, the safety, the security of both the United States and Venezuela as well.
US President Trump had earlier announced that the interim leaders have agreed to US-managed marketing of 30 to 50 million barrels of crude, repeatedly adding that his country will run Venezuela despite having no forces on the ground. Trump also said on social media that Venezuela will be buying only US-made products with the money they receive from the deal. Meanwhile, US seized two Venezuela-linked oil tankers in the Atlantic Ocean on Wednesday, one sailing under Russia's flag. The Marinera, formerly known as Bella 1, was empty of oil, but the US says it and M. Sofia belonged to a shadow fleet of tankers used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. The American operation was supported by Britain's Royal Air Force and one of its military vessels. Moscow has denounced the seizure of the tanker sailing under its flag and demanded that US treat Russians aboard properly and permits them to return to Russia quickly. Anamika Pandey for DD India.
A U.S. immigration officer shot and killed an American woman on a Minneapolis street Wednesday amid an immigration enforcement search. Immigration and Customs Enforcement stated that the woman attempted to ram agents with her car, but Mayor Jacob Frey and Governor Tim Walz have publicly disputed that account. Take a look at this report.
A U.S. immigration agent shot and killed a 37-year-old woman in her car in Minneapolis on Wednesday amid an immigration enforcement search. A widely shared video of the incident shows a Honda SUV apparently blocking unmarked law enforcement vehicles as they attempt to drive down a snow-covered street. The driver, named Renee Nicole Good, attempted to drive off as the officers approached and tried to open her door, with one agent firing 3 times with a handgun as the vehicle pulled away. U.S. authorities stated that the women allegedly sought to ram Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers with the vehicle. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem defended the ICE officer, calling the women's action a domestic act of terrorism.
ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family.
U.S. President Donald Trump also said the Minneapolis shooting appeared to be an act of self-defense, claiming the women aggressively resisted the officers and deliberately ran over an ICE agent, prompting the officer to shoot her. Democrats who govern Minnesota are up in arms against the Trump administration. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey dismissed the government's claim and urged ICE officers to leave the city during a second day of mass immigration raids.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed.
Democratic Governor Tim Walz placed the blame for the shooting on the Trump administration.
We've been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary.
The shooting drew hundreds of protesters into the frigid streets near the scene, some of whom were met by heavily armed federal agents wearing gas masks who fired chemical irritants. ICE's federal agents have been at the forefront of the Trump administration's immigration deportation drive, despite the objections of local officials. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Pele Broberg, who is the leader of Greenland's largest opposition party called Nærlag, has said that Greenland should hold direct talks with the US government without Denmark. This comes as the Arctic island weighs how to respond to United States President Donald Trump's renewed push to bring Greenland under US control. Broberg further said Denmark was antagonizing both Greenland and the United States through its mediation.
We encouraged our current government to actually have a dialogue with the US government without Denmark, because Denmark is antagonizing both Greenland and the US with their mediation, or what they, in the best intention probably, is trying to derail any talks about independence. So I've encouraged our government to actually have a talk with the American government.
And French farmers staged major protests across Paris on Thursday, blockading key locations to oppose the proposed European Union free trade agreement with South American bloc Mercosur and to highlight local grievances. The demonstrations were called by several farming unions who fear that the planned deal with the Mercosur bloc would lead to a surge of cheap agricultural imports into Europe, threatening the livelihoods of local farmers.
We came here. It's symbolic, completely symbolic. We came to bring our demands as close as possible to those who can provide solutions. We have been protesting for 2 years. 2 years saying that agriculture is in trouble. 2 years saying that farmers are suffering and nothing is happening.
And shifting focus to West Asia, Iran has struck a defiant yet measured tone amid rising regional tensions, with US arriving in Beirut for talks with Lebanese leaders. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran does not seek war but is fully prepared for both conflict and negotiations.
We do not seek war, but we are prepared for war. We are also prepared for negotiations, but negotiations that are based on mutual interests and mutual respect. Whenever the Americans accept that negotiation is different from dictation, meaningful negotiations can begin.
In a rare diplomatic breakthrough in West Asia, Israel and Syria have reached an agreement to exchange intelligence and explore commercial cooperation in a bid to ease military tensions and strengthen diplomatic engagement. According to a joint statement issued by the U.S. State Department on behalf of all three parties, the understanding emerged talks held in Paris under the supervision of U.S. Special Envoy Mubarak. Washington welcomed the move, calling it a positive step towards long-term stability, marking a notable step forward. The agreement includes plans to facilitate intelligence sharing, military coordination, diplomatic dialogue and commercial initiatives, with a mechanism to address disputes and prevent misunderstandings. Now, security has been tightened in Yemen's southern city of Aden as forces of the Southern Transitional Council set up checkpoints following reports that separatist leader Adarus al-Zubaydi had fled the country. The Saudi-led coalition said Zubaydi escaped by boat and plane with alleged UAE assistance, eventually reaching Abu Dhabi via Somaliland and Mogadishu. His flight followed his failure to attend crisis talks in Riyadh and has deepened tensions between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, exposing cracks in their coalition as Yemen's conflict continues. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. The outgoing chief of British Broadcasting Corporation, Tim Davie, appeared before a parliamentary committee on Thursday as the broadcaster grapples with mounting pressure and legal scrutiny. The hearing comes amid an ongoing lawsuit filed by US President Donald Trump against the BBC. Samsung Electronics on Thursday projected a threefold jump in fourth quarter operating profit from a year earlier, marking a new quarterly record. The surge is being driven by tight global supply and booming artificial intelligence-led demand, which has pushed up prices for conventional memory chips. Budapest is transformed into a winter wonderland as snow covers the city, with children and adults enjoying sledding and skiing. Residents describe the scene as truly magical, soaking in the rare urban snowfall. City hills and parks have become lively playgrounds, giving locals a unique chance to play and enjoy the outdoors. Time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition on DD India Live. India's Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh visits NCC Republic Day camp at Delhi Camp. And severe winter conditions and dense fog disrupt life across North India.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. but sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. The historic Somnath temple will resonate with chants while the skies over the Arabian Sea will light up with a mega drone spectacle as the 3-day Somnath Swabhiman Parv begins. Sharing the pictures from his previous visits to Somnath on social media platform X, Prime Minister urged visitors to share their pictures using the hashtag Somnath Swabhiman Parv. Remembering the day in January 1026, Somnath faced its first ever attack. Prime Minister Modi wrote on X that the attack of 1026 and the subsequent attacks couldn't diminish the eternal faith of millions nor break the civilizational spirit that rebuilt Somnath time and again. He explained that Somnath Swabhiman Parv is about remembering the countless children of Bharat Mata who never compromised with their principles and ethos. Prime Minister Modi also shared some glimpses of a program held in Somnath on 31st October 2001. This was the year when we marked 50 years since the rebuilt Somnath temple opened its doors in 1951 in the presence of then President Dr. Rajendra Prasad. The efforts of Sardar Patel, K.M. Munshi and several others were noteworthy. Moving on, India's Air Force Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh visited the ongoing NCC Republic Day camp at Delhi Cant on Thursday. Addressing cadets ahead of the NCC Republic Day Parade Camp 2026, he urged them to focus on self-improvement and competing with others and emphasized that a strong spirit of nationalism should guide whatever role they take up in life.
जो आपका योगदान रहा है देश निर्माण की तरफ, नेशन बिल्डिंग की तरफ, वो सराहनीय है। नेशनलिज्म, देश प्रेम की भावना सबसे ऊपर रहनी चाहिए। जैसे हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं, सर्वोपरि। आपके लिए कुछ भी हो, कुछ भी आप बन जाओ जिंदगी में, किसी भी मुकाम हासिल कर लो, कितने भी पैसे कमा लो, कहीं पे भी आपका नाम हो, लेकिन आपके मन में एक क्वेश्चन होना चाहिए कि मैं देश के लिए क्या कर रहा हूं या क्या कर रही हूं।
Shifting focus, North India remains in the grip of an intense cold wave with freezing temperatures and dense fog affecting daily life across several states. Delhi recorded its lowest temperature of the year, while authorities in parts of central India revised school timings as the chill is expected to continue. Here's a report.
North India continued to grapple with biting cold as plummeting temperatures and dense fog enveloped large parts of the region, disrupting daily life on Thursday. A biting chill swept through the national capital as Delhi woke up to its lowest minimum temperature recorded this year and the third lowest of the season at 5.8 degrees Celsius. The lowest minimum temperature of the season was recorded on December 4th and 5th, when the mercury dipped to 5.6 degrees Celsius. In Madhya Pradesh's Mandsaur, the biting cold forced residents to huddle around bonfires to cope with the freezing temperatures. With cold conditions likely to persist, district officials have revised school timings to ensure student safety.
In view of the cold wave and the instructions issued by the Education Department, an order has been issued declaring holidays for schools from nursery to class 5th till January 13th. For middle schools from class 6th to 8th, changes have been made in the operating time and schools will now open at 10 a.m. All other activities and ongoing examinations will continue as per their scheduled time.
In Prayagraj, the intense cold left streets unusually quiet. Despite numb hands and feet, devotees and residents stepped out in the early hours to carry on with daily routines and perform sacred rituals.
It is extremely cold. Our hands and feet are freezing. Cold is unbearable.
There is very dense fog. Our hands and feet are not functioning properly. We've come from Chhapra to take a holy dip in the Ganga.
In neighboring Fatehpur, dense fog reduced visibility to near zero, severely affecting movement on the streets. Residents in Himachal Pradesh's capital Shimla, already grappling with a prolonged dry spell, struggled to keep warm as the temperature dropped to 1.5 degrees Celsius, with many saying it felt even colder. Several places, including Srinagar, experienced the coldest night of the season as severe cold conditions tightened their grip across Kashmir. The bone-chilling temperatures led to freezing of several water bodies, including the fringes of Dal Lake. Srinagar recorded a minimum temperature of minus 5.1 degrees Celsius on Wednesday night, a sharp drop of 3.5 degrees from minus 1.6 degrees Celsius the previous night. It was the city's coldest night of the season so far. The meteorological department has warned of intense cold wave-like conditions over large parts of north, central and eastern India over the next 2 to 3 days. Dense to very dense fog is also likely during morning hours in parts of Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan until January 10th.
In sports, Australia sealed 4-1 Ashes series victory after beating England by 5 wickets in the fifth and final test at the Sydney Cricket Ground on Thursday. Earlier, England resumed day 5 at 302 for 8, leading by 119 runs and were bowled out for 342, setting Australia a target of 160. Australia chased down the target in 31.2 overs after England triggered a scare with a flurry of wickets, allowing 39-year-old Usman Khawaja to retire from Test cricket with a victory. Australia secured the Ashes 4-1 in the series, and in fact they have retained the Ashes 4-1, beating England.
I think just the way we've played. I think we've played so well as a team. We've obviously had some incredible individual performances. This guy next to me in particular, man of the series, has been incredible. He's led the attack in all 5 games, and him and Scotty playing all 5 games was a huge effort. We look at our attack and their attack. They only had Bryden, Cass playing every game. Everyone else went down. It's a tricky place to bowl fast. The amount of force these guys put through their bodies on these wickets is outrageous, and to be able to come out and play 5 tests the way he did, and Scotty, and keep backing up day in, day out.
In a massive blow for the Indian cricket team, Asia Cup final hero Tilak Varma has been ruled out from the upcoming 5-match T20I series against New Zealand. Tilak Varma has been ruled out of the series due to groin issue, which has put a doubt on his inclusion in ICC T20 World Cup 2026. Tilak Varma has been a key batter of the Indian side in T20I setup over the last year. The stylish batter played a crucial role in his side's Asia Cup 2025 victory. Since his debut, he has played 40 matches and 37 innings, amassing 1,183 runs at a fantastic average of 49.29. The 5-match T20I series between India and New Zealand will be played from January 21st to 31st. All right, chess now. Veteran Indian Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand lit up the 2026 Rapid and Blitz Open in Kolkata, surging to the joint lead with Hans Niemann after 3 rounds. Anand began in style, crushing Wesley in the opening round before being held to a draw by V. Ye. He bounced back strongly, defeating compatriot Arvind Chitambram in the 3rd round, showcasing his enduring brilliance. A former world champion and one of India's greatest sporting icons, Anand's sharp play and composure reaffirmed his stature as a maestro who continues to inspire generations. He now shares the top spot. And the first giant panda cub born in Indonesia has completed 40 days in good health, marking a key milestone in China-Indonesia panda conservation cooperation. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.